Martin Daly stared at the polished marble floor of Sunset Gardens' retirement community, watching his wife Leslie's taillights disappear into the October dusk. The realization hit him like a sledgehammer to the gut. They'd left him here, abandoned, discarded like a broken appliance, 55 years old, 32 years of marriage, a lifetime of rewiring houses, fixing electrical problems, building their dream home with his own calloused hands. And this was his reward, standing in a sterile lobby while some bubbly administrator chirped about transition periods and adjustment phases. "Mr. Daly, your suite is ready whenever you'd like to see it," the woman said, clipboard in hand, smile stretched tight as plastic wrap. Martin's jaw clenched. "There's been a mistake." "Oh, your wife explained everything. The trial stay, the evaluation period. My wife can go rot." The words came out flat, cold. "Call me a taxi." That night, Martin lay on a stiff mattress in the retirement suite, staring at the tiled ceiling, while the television hummed faintly in the common room. The air smelled like soap and boiled peas. He didn't cry. He didn't move. Just lay there, listening to the distant murmur of someone snoring down the hall. Was it always like this? He thought. Or did I just never notice how much I stopped mattering? At 4:12 a.m., he rose without a word, put on his clothes, and walked out the side entrance into the early gray morning. He was done pretending. The ride back to town cost him $63. The driver, a chatty kid with neck tattoos, kept glancing in the rearview mirror. "You okay, man? You look like someone just ran over your dog." Martin didn't answer. His mind churned with fragments of the day. Leslie's nervous laughter in the car, Jason fidgeting with his phone, the way they'd both avoided eye contact when the facility director started talking about permanent arrangements. The house was dark when the taxi pulled up. His house, the two-story colonial he'd built from the foundation up, every wire and outlet installed by his own hands. The motion sensor light didn't come on as he approached the front door. Burned out bulb, probably. He'd fix it tomorrow. His key wouldn't turn. Martin tried again, wiggling the metal in the lock. Nothing. He walked around back, tried the kitchen door. Same problem. A cold knot formed in his stomach as he pulled out his phone and dialed Leslie's number. Straight to voicemail. "It's Martin. What's going on with the locks? Call me back." He tried Jason next. Same result. Standing in his own backyard, staring at the kitchen window, where Leslie used to wave at him every morning when he left for work, Martin felt something shift inside his chest. Not heartbreak. That would come later. This was something harder, sharper. Realization. The Motel 6 on Route 9 smelled like disinfectant and defeat. Martin sat on the edge of the sagging bed, laptop balanced on his knees, fingers hovering over the keyboard. He'd pulled the Wi-Fi password from the crumpled receipt the desk clerk had given him. Checkout 11 a.m. His bank account was the first shock. The joint checking account showed a balance of $47. 47. There should have been $12,000. Easy. His pension account, gone. Transferred to something called Daly Family Trust. A trust he'd never heard of. Martin's hands shook as he clicked through screen after screen of financial records. Every major asset, every investment account, slowly drained over the past 6 months. While he'd been working 12-hour days, Leslie had been systematically emptying their life savings. He pulled up the county property records next, his breath caught in his throat. The house, his house, was no longer in his name. Somehow, through paperwork he'd never seen, it had been transferred to the mysterious family trust. And according to the listing he found on a real estate website, it was already under contract. Charming colonial. Must see. Owner motivated. Quick sale. The photos made his stomach lurch. His workshop, his bedroom, his kitchen, all staged for sale, his personal belongings mysteriously absent from the shots. The listing agent's smiling face stared back at him from the webpage. Ray Sutter, your trusted real estate professional. Martin had never heard the name before. He spent the next hour digging deeper, cross-referencing public records, business licenses, social media profiles. Ray Sutter, 42, divorced, 3 kids he barely saw, a real estate license hanging by a thread due to ethical violations and unpaid debts. His agency occupied a strip mall office between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. By 2 a.m., Martin had compiled a basic timeline. The trust had been established 4 months ago. The house had been quietly listed 2 weeks ago. And Ray Sutter, according to his Facebook posts, had been celebrating new partnerships with Leslie for the better part of 3 months. Partnership, right. Martin closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling, listening to trucks rumble past on the highway. 32 years of marriage. 32 years of fixing her car when it broke down, holding her hand through her mother's funeral, working overtime to pay for Jason's college. This was his thanks. But Martin's story hadn't always been this bitter. Once he'd known real love. Once he'd built a life that mattered. Rachel had been everything Leslie wasn't: genuine, kind, fiercely loyal. They'd met in their small hometown when they were barely adults, moved to the city together, married in a backyard ceremony with handmade decorations and dreams bigger than their bank account. When Rachel got pregnant at 22, Martin thought his life was complete. He'd already started planning camping trips with his son, teaching him to fish, showing him how to wire a light switch. The future stretched ahead like a golden road. Then the shelving unit collapsed at Rachel's workplace. Rusted, neglected, a collapse waiting to happen. Management had refused to replace it to save money. When it finally gave way, the impact was instant. Rachel and their unborn son didn't stand a chance. 2 other employees were critically injured, one paralyzed, another lost a leg. Martin spent the next 4 years in a legal war against the company executives who'd prioritized profits over safety. The media coverage was extensive, politicians got involved, and eventually those responsible faced huge fines and prison time. But it was hollow victory. No amount of justice could bring Rachel back. That's when the job promotion came through. Telecommunications work requiring travel around the state. Martin accepted with one condition. He needed an office in his hometown too. He bought the Colonial House as a retreat, a place to escape the memories that haunted his city apartment. Which brought him to Harry's party 4 years later, and the woman who would complete his transformation into something cold and calculating. Catherine seemed like Rachel's echo, witty, confident, magnetic. Martin wasn't looking for romance, but there it was. They dated for 2 years, and she moved into his hometown house. His parents liked her. Even Rachel's parents expressed relief that he could smile again. But then the warning signs started. Men's clothes in the wardrobe that weren't his, her cousin, had stayed overnight, she said. Neighbors reporting a car in the back alley when Martin was traveling. The car matched Harry's description. When confronted, Catherine admitted Harry sometimes stopped by to discuss work, but insisted nothing else happened. Martin wanted to believe her. He convinced himself it was paranoia, the trauma from Rachel's death making him suspicious. But the doubts festered, growing stronger with each unexplained detail. His revelation came after a business trip ended early. Instead of calling ahead, Martin decided to surprise Catherine. He parked in the alley behind his house, crept through the hedge, and peered through the kitchen window. Catherine and Harry were on his kitchen counter, limbs entwined, going at it like animals in heat. His own friend, his colleague, violating his home, his relationship, his life. Martin stood there trembling, watching the betrayal unfold. That night changed everything. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It started with a phone call to Tommy Chen, a guy Martin had wired a home theater for the previous year. Tommy ran a small IT security company out of his basement, the kind of operation that existed in the gray areas between legal and not quite legal. Martin? Holy crap, how you been, man? I need help recovering some data, Tommy. Someone's been messing with my accounts. They met at a diner off I-95, sliding into a corner booth while truckers hunched over coffee and pie. Tommy was thin, nervous, constantly checking his phone. He wore wire-rimmed glasses and a hoodie with DEFCON 23 inches printed on the front. So what are we talking about here? Tommy asked, stirring sugar into his coffee. Identity theft? Malware? Worse, my wife. Martin slid a flash drive across the table. I need to know what she deleted, what she moved, who she's been talking to? Tommy's eyebrows shot up. Dude, I can't just... $5,000. Martin's voice was steady, cold. Cash, today. For $5,000, I can recover deleted files going back 2 years. The data recovery took 3 days. Tommy worked his magic on Catherine's laptop, Harry's computer files, even their shared devices. What he found made Martin's insides churn with quiet rage. Email chains between Catherine and Harry stretching back 5 months. Photos of secret rendezvous Martin had never known about. Messages where they mocked him, called him controlling, laughed about their deception. Can't wait to be done with this charade. M is getting suspicious about the late meetings. Tell him you're working overtime again. He's too stupid to check. This is so wrong, but you're right. It's exciting. He's turning into a total control freak, so I don't even feel guilty. Martin printed everything. created backup copies, built a file that would destroy them both. But he wasn't ready to involve the law yet, not when there were more creative options available. He began planning Harry's destruction first. Martin knew about Harry's casual stimulant habit, something no one else seemed aware of. He'd glimpsed a small baggie once during a boxing match at Harry's place, which Harry had nervously explained away. Over the next few weeks, Martin quietly purchased enough illegal substances from contacts he'd made through telecom work in bigger cities. He accumulated a stash large enough to make Harry look like a major dealer rather than a casual user. One weekend, Martin invited Harry over for a barbecue. Catherine was supposedly visiting friends out of town, though Martin suspected she was with Harry somewhere else. He kept the alcohol flowing until Harry was too intoxicated to drive. "You sure I can't get home?" Harry slurred. "You're in no condition, mate," Martin said. "Sleep it off in the guest room." Late that night, Martin crept outside to Harry's car. He unlocked it and tucked the illegal substances into the spare tire well. He also planted some of his personal possessions, including an engraved watch that he would later report stolen. For extra measure, he slipped more of the stash into Harry's hall closet. The next morning, Martin played the perfect host. "You were wasted, man. Glad you stayed." Harry left, completely unaware of what Martin had done. 2 weeks later, Martin staged a break-in at his own house. Before leaving for another business trip, he shattered the back door window, ransacked his office, and removed the items he'd planted in Harry's possession. This would give him grounds to report them stolen. When his mother discovered the break-in, Martin acted shocked and outraged. The police took fingerprints, filed reports, and documented the missing items. Martin even hired a security company to install cameras, ostensibly for protection, but really to monitor Catherine's activities. The final trap was set when Martin's company offered him a promotion requiring relocation to the city. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. He accepted immediately. Martin told Harry he was planning a surprise for Catherine, a week-long tropical spa retreat, while he handled the move. Harry beamed, thinking Martin was going to propose. "And that's amazing. So you're going to pop the question?" Harry asked excitedly. "Something like that," Martin said, already savoring the irony. Catherine was thrilled about the spa trip. "But why?" she asked. "This is so sudden." Martin shrugged. "You deserve it. I've been working too much. I want you relaxed before our next step together." She jumped into his arms, and Martin forced himself not to recoil. While Catherine was away, Martin made his final moves. First, he called the local police from a burner phone. "Hello, officer? I live near Maple Avenue. We've had suspicious activity in the back alley by the old Greenwood house. Looks like a man distributing substances from his car. Tall, curly hair, silver sedan license plate." Martin read out Harry's plate number. "He's there all the time, especially late at night. I'm worried about criminal activity in our neighborhood." Sure enough, that night Harry drove to Martin's house, probably expecting to find Catherine. When the police responded to the anonymous tip, they found Harry with a car full of planted evidence and stolen goods. "Are you out of your minds?" Harry's voice boomed through the quiet street. "This is a setup. I have no idea how that stuff got there." One officer yanked him around by the wrists, slamming him onto the hood of the squad car. Harry let out a pained groan as they read him his rights. "You don't understand." Harry wheezed. "I've never touched that watch in my life. The initials, they're my friends. This is—" "Shut your mouth," the officer barked. "You can talk downtown." Martin watched from a distance as they forced Harry into the back seat and drove him away. The arrogance was gone now, replaced by desperation and confusion. One down, one to go. When Catherine returned from her spa trip a day early, someone had probably tipped her off about Harry's arrest. She walked into an empty house. Martin had used professional movers to clear out everything except her belongings, which were safely stored in a facility she didn't know about. The security cameras captured her meltdown perfectly. Catherine stood in the hallway, stunned to see the entire house gutted of furniture. She opened closets, found only empty hangers. She sprinted into the bedroom. Nothing. Into the kitchen, bare cupboards. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone to call Martin. Blocked. "Aaron?" She yelled into the empty house. Her voice echoed. "Where are you?" She called his mother next, but got no satisfaction there either. Martin had instructed his parents to provide only the manila folder containing proof of her affair and legal documents from his attorney. When Catherine met with Rachel's old friend Becky to collect the folder, she tore it apart in a rage, then collapsed into sobs. The evidence was undeniable. Timestamps from security cameras, phone records, photos of Harry sneaking into the house. Catherine disappeared from town not long after. Last Martin heard, she'd taken a job bartending in a roadside bar 2 towns over. No charges were filed against her, but her reputation was gone, and so was any trace of the woman he once loved. Alongside the evidence was a formal letter stating Catherine was to have no contact with Martin and that her belongings were stored under her name at a local facility. It also made clear she had no claim to his assets. Over the next few days, Martin's phone was flooded with calls from unknown numbers. Catherine's voicemails ranged from desperate apologies to venomous rants. "How could you do this to me, you manipulative monster? I should have known you were too damaged from Rachel's death. You're pathetic." Then softening. "Aaron, please. Talk to me. I was lonely. You were always away. I never wanted to hurt you like this. We can fix this, please." Martin listened to them all in his new city apartment, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. The criminal trials took 8 months. Harry pled guilty to illegal possession and received 2 years in prison, plus restitution. Catherine's employer fired her for mixing personal business with company computer usage. Her so-called major socialite status in their hometown was demolished. People gossiped that Catherine had orchestrated Harry's downfall, or that they were co-conspirators who turned on each other. The truth was more insidious, Martin's design from the start. During this time, back in his hometown, Leslie had been busy with her own schemes. While Martin was dealing with his second betrayal in the city, Leslie was systematically emptying their joint accounts and forging documents to steal his house. The pattern was sickeningly familiar. The lies, the manipulation, the casual disposal of someone who'd given everything. But this time, Martin was ready. Now, sitting in that motel room at 2 a.m., staring at the evidence of Leslie's betrayal, Martin felt something click into place. The cold rage that had served him so well with Catherine and Harry was still there, waiting to be used. He picked up his phone and called Tommy again. "Tommy, it's Martin. I need your services again." "Man, what is it with you and technology problems?" "Different kind of problem this time. My family's trying to steal my house." "Jesus. Same rate as before? Double it. And Tommy? This time we're not just recovering data. We're going to war." The next morning, Martin began his most comprehensive revenge campaign yet. Leslie had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the man she was trying to destroy. Within a week, Martin had documented every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, every illegal transfer. He'd identified Ray Sutter's history of ethical violations and pending debt problems. More importantly, he'd discovered Jason's full complicity in the scheme. The first call Martin made was to the State Real Estate Board. Ray Sutter's license was hanging by a thread already. 3 previous complaints about pressuring elderly sellers. A 4th complaint, backed by evidence of document forgery and coercive tactics, would trigger an immediate investigation. The second call went to Leslie's employer. Martin had recovered emails she'd sent from her work computer, personal correspondence mixed with company business. Most employers had strict policies about that kind of thing. The third call was to Jason's university. Need-based financial aid required accurate reporting of family assets. If they discovered Jason's family had significantly more money than reported, money hidden in fraudulent trusts, they might want their scholarship back, with interest and penalties. Martin made each call from different burner phones, disguising his voice, providing just enough information to start official inquiries rolling. 30 years as an electrician had taught him patience. Sometimes you had to trace a short circuit through miles of wire before you found the actual problem. The dominoes began falling within days. Leslie called first, voice shaking with panic. "Martin, I need to talk to you." "Where are you staying?" "Why?" "There are lawyers involved now. Something about the house, about improper transfers. I don't understand what's happening." Martin smiled into the phone. "Maybe you should ask Ray. He seems to understand real estate pretty well." Silence. "Martin, please, we can work this out." "Work what out, Leslie? The fact that you stole my house? The fact that you forged my signature? The fact that you've been sleeping with your business partner while I was working to support you? How did you—" Her voice caught. "I'm not as stupid as you thought." Martin ended the call. Jason showed up at the motel the next day, face flushed with desperation. "Dad, we need to talk." "Do we?" Jason pushed into the small room, pacing like a caged animal. "Someone's been asking questions at school. About our finances, about the scholarship money. They're talking about an investigation." Martin sat on the bed, arms crossed. And I think they know about the trust, about the house." Jason's voice cracked. "Dad, I never wanted it to go this far. Mom said it was just temporary, that we were protecting your assets. Protecting them from what? I don't know. From taxes, from probate, from... Jason stopped pacing, stared at his father. She said you were getting forgetful, having episodes, that you'd already agreed to the retirement home. Martin's laugh was bitter as winter wind. Forgetful. Right. Dad, please, if the university revokes my scholarship, I'm done. 4 years down the drain. You should have thought about that before you signed your name to stolen property. Jason's face went white. Stolen? Dad, it's your house. We're family. We were just what? Just cutting me out? Just erasing me? Martin stood up, stepped close to his son. You want to be practical, Jason? Here's practical. You chose sides. Live with it. By the end of the week, all 3 investigations were in full swing. Ray Sutter's real estate license was suspended pending a formal hearing. Leslie was suspended from her job for computer policy violations. Jason was facing academic probation and potential scholarship revocation. Martin watched the local news coverage of Sutter's arrest from his motel room. The reporter stood outside the strip mall office, explaining how an ongoing investigation had uncovered a pattern of predatory behavior targeting vulnerable homeowners. His phone rang. Leslie again. What do you want? Martin, please. Ray's been arrested. The house sale fell through. The lawyers are saying... Her voice dissolved into sobs. They're saying I might go to jail. Good. How can you say that? I'm your wife. No, Martin said quietly. You're a thief who happens to share my last name. There's a difference. I can fix this. We can fix this. Just come home. Sign the papers to reverse the trust. The trust you created without my knowledge. Using my forged signature? Martin's voice stayed level, controlled. I don't think so. Martin, I'm begging you. You should have thought about begging before you decided to throw me away. He hung up. The final confrontation came the following Tuesday. Martin drove to his house for the first time since the retirement home incident. Leslie's car was in the driveway along with a van from a local moving company. She was carrying boxes out the front door when she saw him. Her face went through a series of emotions: relief, fear, desperation, anger. Martin, thank God, we need to talk. Talk fast. I have someplace to be. Leslie set down the box, walked toward him with hands raised like she was approaching a wild animal. The lawyers say we can reverse everything, put the house back in your name, restore the accounts. But we need your signature, your cooperation. And in exchange? In exchange, you don't press charges. You don't testify against Ray. You let this whole thing go away quietly. Martin looked past her at the moving van, at Jason loading furniture into the back. Where are you going? Ray's got a place in Florida, a fresh start. We can all move on from this. All of us? You'll have the house back, your money back. Everything exactly like it was before. Martin nodded slowly. Except for one thing. What? I'll know what you really think of me. He pulled out his phone, played a recording from the surveillance equipment he'd installed weeks earlier. Leslie's voice filled the air, laughing with Ray about the retirement home trick and her stupid husband. Leslie's face went ashen. You were recording us? I was learning. Martin pocketed the phone. Tell Jason to leave his key on the kitchen counter. Both of you have 1 hour to get your stuff and get out. You can't do this. I'm still your wife. Not for long. Martin pulled a manila envelope from his jacket. Divorce papers. Already filed. And before you get any ideas about community property, you might want to read the fraud charges your lawyer will be receiving tomorrow. Leslie's composure finally cracked. You monster. This is my house, too. I lived here. I contributed. You contributed forgery and theft. Now you're contributing your absence. Martin stepped aside as Jason approached with another box. His son stopped, stared at him with wounded eyes. Dad, this is crazy. We're family. Family doesn't abandon each other at retirement homes. Family doesn't steal houses. Martin's voice stayed steady. You made your choice. Now live with it. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. The moving van pulled away an hour later, loaded with furniture and boxes and the remnants of Martin's old life. Leslie sat in the passenger seat, sunglasses hiding her tears. Jason drove, jaw set, refusing to look back. Martin watched from the front porch, coffee in hand. When the van disappeared around the corner, he pulled out his phone and called Tommy. The surveillance equipment. Can you come remove it today? Sure thing. Everything work out okay? Martin looked around at his empty house, clean, quiet. His again. Better than okay. The criminal trials took 8 months. Ray Sutter pled guilty to real estate fraud and received 2 years in prison plus restitution. Leslie was sentenced to 18 months for forgery and conspiracy, though she served only 10 months with good behavior. Jason lost his scholarship and was expelled from college. Martin testified at all 3 trials, calm and methodical, laying out the evidence with the same precision he'd once used to trace electrical circuits. At one point during Leslie's hearing, her attorney stood up and asked, "Mr. Daly, how exactly did you discover the forgery?" Martin didn't hesitate. "The same way I find a bad wire," he replied. "You trace every current until you find the spark. Then you shut it down before the whole system burns." There was a silence in the courtroom, followed by the scratch of pens and a quiet cough from the gallery. Martin didn't flinch. He just watched the defense attorney sit back down, eyes lowered. The prosecutors called him an exemplary witness. The defense attorneys called him vindictive. He preferred thorough. The house was officially restored to his name on a rainy Thursday in April. Martin spent the afternoon walking through rooms that felt both familiar and foreign, like visiting a place from a half-remembered dream. Leslie's things were gone, all of them. Her side of the closet, her magazines, her ceramic cat collection. The garage workshop was exactly as he'd left it. Tools hanging in their designated spots, workbench clear and ready. Martin plugged in his soldering iron and got back to work on the radio he'd been repairing before his birthday trip to Inferno. Some problems, he'd learned, could be fixed with patience and the right tools. Others required complete rewiring. 6 months after the trials ended, Martin received a letter forwarded through his lawyer's office. No return address, but he recognized Leslie's handwriting. "I know you probably won't read this, but I needed to try. I was wrong. We were wrong. The whole thing spiraled out of control, and by the time I realized how far we'd gone, it felt too late to stop. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know that's impossible. I just wanted you to know that some part of me always loved you." Ray's gone now, moved to Texas with some woman he met online. Jason's working construction in Colorado, trying to save money for community college. We all learned expensive lessons about consequences. "I hope you find peace, Martin. You deserved better than what we gave you." Martin read the letter twice, then fed it into his paper shredder. Some bridges weren't meant to be rebuilt. On a warm Saturday evening in September, exactly 1 year after his abandoned birthday trip, Martin sat on his front porch with a cold beer and the local newspaper. He didn't need to work anymore, but sometimes he helped neighbors with small fixes. Rewiring a faulty outlet, fixing a porch light. No charge, just to keep his hands busy and his mind clear. His phone buzzed with a text from Tommy. "Beer later? Got a new project that might interest you." Martin smiled and typed back, "Rain check, enjoying the quiet." He looked out at his yard. Grass freshly cut, hedges trimmed, garden free of weeds. The house behind him hummed with efficient electrical systems he'd maintained and upgraded himself. No surprises, no hidden agendas, no partners plotting his destruction. A car slowed as it passed, the driver craning his neck to look at the house. Martin recognized the type. Probably a real estate agent showing clients around the neighborhood, maybe pointing out the nice colonial with the motivated seller. But there was no motivated seller here anymore. No quick sale, no desperate circumstances, no family trust with forged signatures. Just an electrician who'd learned the hard way that some problems required more than simple repairs. They required complete demolition. And Martin Daly had always been very good with his hands.